enough, a lot of times you'll have a really low restricting air cleaner and you'll crack the hatch or take the hatch off and pick up speed because all of a sudden you're getting the proper amount of air that it takes to get in that engine. So your restriction could be your hatch. A lot of people don't even think about that.
Big enough inlets. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Jake, I got a comment on my website that somebody says lots of static. Can you check that on your phone there? I'd appreciate it. Thank you. So that's we're within 3 minutes of our 15 minutes there, Alexi. Is there anything else you want to add on air filters? Like, for example, let me ask you a quick question here. For marine applications, which one would be your favorite? The old school kind of jet boat style spark arrestor, the waffle style?
Right? But it's kind of cool, stainless steel or polished aluminum, and it's just mesh. The only problem is it's not Coast Guard approved. This particular product is a custom made one. So
hard marine, I can see it's upside down when you hold it up, but it's a hard marine.
Scotty made this for me. It's a specific one that they do for us, but they have ones that look similar. But I really like these. And the problem is that, we'll talk about this on a whole episode, but Coast Guard approval, right? I mean, braided hoses aren't Coast Guard approved. There's so many things that aren't Coast Guard approved, but you got to decide, are you high performance? Are you a race boat? Or are you stock OEM? So that all has to do with it too, with your decision making. But one of the things that, a lot of guys will do is they'll buy one of these thinking they're going to get performance over the mesh style ones you see on the stock engines. And a lot of times they don't perform better because although this is bigger, it's more restrictive than, say, the mesh. So, you can go the wrong way with this real easily. So you must check and understand how much volume of air can actually flow through these. You can actually get a flow, like we have a flow bench that pulls a vacuum and you can hook an air cleaner to it and see what it's doing separate of a dyno. Just see how much air is it possible for this thing to move.
Yeah. So, sorry, I was checking my website for 1 second there because we had a static issue, but I guess it's fixed now. So that takes us 15 minutes in air cleaners. Before I let you go on, before we move on to our next set of subjects here, we discussed marine. What do you like for asphalt? The traditional K&N?
Yeah, usually on asphalt, you want to have something that clean the air or treat the air before it gets into the engine. When you're out on the lake, usually there's not as much dust as on the road, so you can get away with these type of situations. Unless, of course, you have a big Labrador, like you do. Or whatever it is, the big dog, then obviously you need you keep an eye on that, right?
And off-road, a lot of people like the K&N style or the foam style.
On the off-road vehicles, a lot of times you'll find that they use a K&N SMB type filter or some aftermarket brand. And then they also have like a pantyhose type sock. There's outfitters that make different types of to keep sand out and other fine debris. Our buddy Jake probably sees that all the time on the sand cars. And, on the off-road vehicles, a lot of times you need to vent or duct things above water if you're going through riverbeds. So the air cleaners get really, or the air filters, they get real tricked. The boxes, the snorkels, and that brings up an interesting point we could talk about on the next show. But have you ever tested how hot the actual air temperature is underneath the hatch of your boat in the middle of August out at the river?
Absolutely. There's a reason. right? So
Correct.
Anyhow, so that's our 15 minutes of air filter tech for today, and we're going to wait for some questions to come in. I don't think there's going to be too many questions on this because it's pretty simplistic material, but I did want to talk to you a little bit about what's going on with boost power, man. Let's do our 15 minutes. I want to grill you. What's going on?
Well, we got a lot going on. We got motors up the gazoo in this room behind me, and we got all kinds of different designs. We're doing some new supercharger testing with the boys at Magnuson. And, it's funny that you talk about air cleaners because some of the problems are where the air cleaners are mounted or on top or at the rear of the engine. So what we've done recently is kind of change some configurations around on our supercharger snouts to bring the throttle bodies to the front of the engine. Therefore, we can kind of push things back and kind of make things compact, but have the air cleaner off to the side or in the front of the engine. I have a supercharger housing right here. Pick that up and show you guys, but see how the blower pulley's in the front?
Mm-hmm.
And so is the throttle body. You see that? Off to the side. So this little guy, if you look at the back, is very short.
You have to change the rotor configuration to do that?
What's that? I'm sorry.
Did you have to change the rotor configuration to do that?
No. All we did was we're still driving the rotor the same exact way.
Mm-hmm.
But what we did was we changed the way the inlet situation is in the front. So the direction, you're asking me about the direction? Yeah, the direction has to change depending on where you're drawing the air in from. So the rotors get flipped from front to rear, but they don't get flipped left to right.
Yeah, I understand.
So, but, so that's kind of exciting for us. We're playing with new designs like that, and we're fortunate enough to have Magnuson down the road, so we're working with them on that.
That cast piece right there that you showed us with the intake off to the side there, is that a custom boost power deal?
This particular one is, but there are automotive ones that utilize similar traits that we saw for the Camaro. So we've made changes to run a bigger shaft and make a more robust unit for marine. So we're just doing all the preliminary testing now here in-house for that, for Magnuson.
You mind if I ask how you guys are doing prototype castings? I know you got a little 3D printing machine down there. Are you using that for an investment?
Yeah, we do. Depending on the size, our 3D printing machines that we have here usually go about 20 inches in any direction. So we're somewhat limited, but we have a new one coming that'll do 36 inches, so we can do at least a cylinder head or something like that. But what's nice about the 3D printers is you can scale it down and still print it. So you can look at contours and different things. And, we ran our program for our 800-inch billet engine in it, and we scaled it down to something this size. And it's really cool to be able to see it because there's actually some changes we wanted to make to the motor mount pads. So we make the adjustments here, verify it, and then we'll make it out of like a solid piece of billet.
When I was selling 3D printing, one of my biggest things was investment casting, where we'd actually print honeycombs, or we would print out of wax, and you'd factor in your shrinkage scales. You take it right over to a foundry, and they give you your part right back. Nowadays in 3D printing, they actually have direct metal where the printers can actually grow a direct metal part, and it's getting cheaper and cheaper. I've been in this.
So the one that we have coming, it'll print aluminum and stainless steel, and it comes in a powder. So it's a powder form. It's like loading a sandbag, and then it comes out of the machine. It's not perfect. The process is not perfect, and the machines are very expensive. But I still want to stay at the leading edge of that, because I know that's going to be a big way of producing small run parts. Like, when we build parts, we build 50 or 100 of them, right? We're not building 10 million, pulleys, and we build, maybe 100, 125 of those things for our use, and maybe some for other people. So we want to make sure that we could take as many steps out of the production as we can. So the 3D printing is great. And, we write SolidWorks here. We use Autodesk. There's 2 or 3 other programs that work really well and fairly simple to use here. It's like the other day, we just made a new kill switch. I had a customer, those little fork kill switches that go in the old Well, he got tired of the red ones. He redid all his gauges, and he goes, man, I wish they made these in anything but that faded red color. So I said, I could probably draw that and make it a little beefier and make it out of white. So I made a white one, and he was all excited.
You know what's kind of cool about the 3D printing, since you brought up smaller parts? You don't even need to stock them on the shelf. All you needed to have the most recent file, and you can print it overnight and ship it the next day. It's really, really a trick technology that's kind of changing.
Well, that's another interesting thing is, my first 3D printer would take like 28 hours to print a small part. I'm printing small parts in 30 minutes.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's 7:27 right now. So we got about 8 more minutes. I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about RDP stuff here for a minute. And first, before I get into that, we did our air filter. So I guess the next part would be throttle bodies, right? Next week?
We could talk about throttle bodies.
We'll talk about
throttle bodies and carburetors. We can kind of do a combination.
I think carburetors is going to be its own episode, man. Throttle bodies is going to be pretty in-depth. And carburetor.
Whatever RDP wants to do, we'll do it.
In 15 minutes, I don't think we're going to solve the argument between carburetors and EFI just yet. So, anyhow, on the RDP front of things, guys, I do want to let you guys know that we just ordered 200 plus hats for the Lake Havasu Boat Show. That sounds like quite a bit, but believe it or not, we probably will sell out at the Lake Havasu Boat Show and reorder for Desert Storm again. Right before the boat show, April 1st, we are taking delivery of our new office, which is actually the Welcome Center on McCulloch. So when you're driving up and you see that Lady Dice flowers and that Welcome Center, that is going to be our new RDP headquarters. And now we'll be, hopefully in the month of April, broadcasting this stuff out of that Welcome Center. Jake and Alexi don't know it yet, but I'm going to try to get them out here every now and again so we can do a roundtable discussion, maybe with some special guests, and make it kind of entertaining for everybody. So 200 hats order. I got some new shirt designs coming in. I posted one of them in the thread today, which is a 6-blade cleaver kind of on an isometric view with an RDP logo. Still detailing that went in, and I'm trying to come up with 2 more shirt designs before the Havasu Boat Show. Kind of running out of time on that, but I'll get it done. We always do. We always pull it off. Other than that, things are kicking ass, man. We got some new technologies coming. They're a couple months out, so I don't want to get into it too much, but I showed Alexi one of our new ways of revolutionizing advertising on the web, and I think it's going to be good when it does come. And that's about it. Alexi, you got anything else you want to add before we say goodnight?
No, I just thank you guys for watching, and we're going to try to stay consistent in doing these tech shows. So you guys can always rewind and review and replay and then come up with some ideas and hopefully get a little more knowledge and also get some RDP news.
So to close this out, I do want to remind everybody that Alexi does his personal Boost Power Tech thing, and it's a really cool and fluid show. He's willing to discuss just about anything under the sun as it's going. I've seen people, he's talking about a blower over here, and somebody says, what about this injector? And he pulls an injector off his desk, and this injector, this, and he's answering questions on the fly as best as he can. But it's a really cool and fluid show. This particular one on Wednesdays, like I said, we're going to try to keep it as short as it's going to depend a little bit upon the material. There's some material you're never going to be able to squeeze in 15 minutes, but we're going to kind of keep it short to the point, and then we'll give you guys like a 15-minute question and answer period, and we'll just discuss life during that 15 minutes while we're waiting on that. But these will be cataloged on RDP, and you can go back and watch them again later. So if you're interested in learning about, the harmonics of intake manifolds and how they work with camshafts and how you actually generate horsepower off of headers and intake manifolds and camshafts and working together, you can actually go back and look at that later.